Alrighty, YouTube Nunner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. So 49ers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks will be calling plays from the 49ers sideline on Sunday versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, there's reports that came out, and I made videos on this, but there was reports that came out that said that Kyle Shanahan was going to have a private conversation with Steve Wilks regarding him potentially moving from the booth to the field to call defensive plays. I'm not going to sit up here and say that just because he's calling plays from the 49ers sideline that there's going to be massive improvement. I'm sure there's been tweaks made to the defense. Hopefully they're not going to be playing nearly as much man coverage as they have been. I mean, I'm not going to say that this is going to affect the 49ers defensive play drastically just because he's on the sideline calling the plays. But I do see a sense of more connection, I guess, between him, Steve Wilks I'm talking about, and the 49ers defensive players. But like as far as it like completely helping the 49ers defense drastically, that's not going to happen unless he simply switches up some of the play calling schemes. But this is a good step in the right direction. I'm sure, him and Kyle probably talked during the bye week about it. Steve Wilks probably thought and was open, I guess, to trying calling plays from the sideline. He did it last year in Carolina. He's did it before. But again, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a situation where he's really going to, it's going to be a drastic change to the 49ers defense. The only way that happens is if Steve Wilks lays off of man coverage as much as he's been calling it. But other than that, again, it's a step in the right direction. We'll see if, Steve Wilks likes it. Hopefully for the remainder of the year, he is on the sidelines. Again, I feel as if the 49ers defense, over the past couple of years with DeMeco Ryans and Robert Saleh, those guys were always on the sidelines, calling those defensive plays. And it did feel as if there was some sort of better connection, I guess you could say, between the players and DeMeco and Saleh when they were on the sidelines. I think a lot of that had to do with them, getting hyped up after a good play was made or something of that nature. Steve Wilks is not that type of guy. He's not going to sit there and jump up and down like DeMeco and Saleh would do. But I definitely think this will help the connection between the defensive coordinator and the players a lot more with him being on the sideline. It's not for the entire season, of course. I'm sure Steve Wilks will probably try it out to see how he likes it. I'm sure Steve Wilks is I'm sure he's open to, calling plays from the sideline for the rest of the season. But as of now, it seems as if he's just kind of giving it a try to see how things operate and work when he is on the sidelines. And I'm sure if a lot of good comes from this, I could, 100% see Steve Wilks remaining on the sidelines, for the remainder of the year. But again, good step in the right direction. It's a change. Like I said, I think it's going to help the players be more connected to the defensive coordinator in a way. And, I mean, again, this isn't going to drastically change the 49ers defense. The only thing that's going to drastically change the defense is if he continues or if he, switches up some scheming things on the defensive side. Don't play the 49ers secondary and man coverage a majority of the game. That's going to help massively. And I'm sure there's going to be tweaks and changes to that as well, considering watching the 49ers defense over the past 3 weeks, play terribly in man coverage. I think there's got to be more zone coverage to this 49ers defense, more opportunities to create pressure on the quarterback from the pass rush. Things like that will help the 49ers defense. But as far as him calling plays, the only thing I really see it helping in is just that connection between, him and the players. But again, it's not for the entire season. He's going to try it out, see how it works. As of right now, obviously he's calling plays on the sideline for Jacksonville. But it'll be interesting to see if he does that moving forward for the remainder of the year, or if he returns to the booth. But if I'm Steve Wilks, I think for the remainder of the season, I'm probably on the sidelines. I think you can get a better grasp of what kind of, plays the offense is running. Again, I'm not a defensive coordinator in the NFL, so I don't know what all goes into, being in the booth and being on the sideline. But if I'm a defensive coordinator, as far as being able to see the field and see the opposing offense a little better, I'm sure it probably helps if you're on the sideline. So, we'll see how this affects the 49ers defense, if it helps it or whatnot. But I definitely think the 49ers defensive players in general are probably relieved to know that, he will be calling plays from the sideline. So a good step in the right direction. Again, it's not going to help unless he switches up some scheming things and some coverages and lays off of man coverage, and to not call man coverage as much as he has been. But again, I definitely think this is a positive that he will be calling plays from the sideline. So we'll see how it works for the Niners defense, but it is good to hear. And again, don't knock it until you try it too. Like I said, Wilks has been calling plays, and he has called plays, from the sideline before with the Panthers and things of that nature. But, there was an anonymous 49ers defensive back as well that said, when he's up in the booth, or a report came out allegedly, a 49ers defensive back said that with him being up in the booth, there's some sort of disconnect between the players and Steve Wilks himself. And I definitely think, one of the reasons why the 49ers defense has been so dominant over the past 2 to 3 years has been because of the energy that D'Amico and Saleh bring. And with them being on the sideline, again, there's a better sense of connection between the defense and the coach. So we'll see how this works for the Niners. But I definitely think, as far as him being on the sideline, there can only be positives to come out of this. But we'll see what happens. So Steve Wilks calling plays from the 49ers sideline for Sunday's game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.